Hey guys, it's Camper 15 back at it with another video for you guys, and we're back on Camper 15 Talk Sports. I'm joined by my Uncle Darrell, and the NFL draft has finally concluded, and the Chicago Bears have I think all their 9 or 10, 11 players they drafted or something.
Nine picks, 10 picks.
Something like that. I would have to look. I have the Bears. 11?
11 picks.
Yeah. One thing I'll say is I'll say I appreciate Ryan Poles for getting the amount of draft capital and legitimately in one draft. And he's got more draft picks in this one draft than Ryan Pace ever could have done, because if Ryan Pace was doing this draft, he probably would have traded up into the first round and wasted more draft capital. But I digress. It is what it is. I have my own personal opinions how I give Ryan Poles his first NFL draft. In some cases, I thought today or yesterday, in my case, was the fact that I thought he had the better day compared to day one, just in my opinion. Just because I felt like he addressed the needs more in the second day of draft, in the second draft he had for the day instead of the first draft, even though the DBs are talented. I won't say go on a rant, but I might voice my displeasures, but I understand why they took him, and I'm just gonna have to deal with it. But the Bears obviously came into this draft. We needed to get something to make sure this team is somewhat improved, because in free agency, they kind of just signed, I guess you can say, prove it type of deals to these players like a Lucas Patrick, like a Dan Cruikshank and stuff like that. That they're nice players, but it's just kind of like 1 year or 2 year rental guys. They're going to be there while the drafts is just okay, let's build and develop these guys. So overall, my thoughts on the Bears draft, I think it was a solid draft, even though in my opinion it didn't go the way I thought they should have went, but I still think at the end of the day it's solid. They tried to address every need they possibly can, and the only thing, I guess, the only position coming out of this draft that I'm still unsure about is the wide receiver room. I'm sorry. We'll talk about the Velus Jones Jr. pick, but I'm not sold on that till further notice. Something about that doesn't sit right with me. I just see it as an excuse to quote unquote get their own version of a Tyreek Hill like player because he's fast and stuff like that. But we'll talk about that when the draft comes. I guess I'll turn over to my uncle about his initial thoughts.
I was pretty much the same way initially, but then again, so was everyone. Everyone was, going in like, well, you know what, we need wide receiver, we need offensive line. This is what we need. This is what we need. And as always, no one really truly knows what the Bears are thinking as far as what positions they should prioritize over what position. So, because we had many holes. They had many holes. Offensive line, yes. Wide receiver, yes. The secondary, I can't tell you how many times you and I talked about how abysmal this secondary was last year. It was horrible. I mean, they were out of position. It seems like they didn't even know what they were doing. It seemed like even the defensive coordinator couldn't even tell them or show them where they needed to be. So them going defensive back first, it didn't shock me, but I would have thought that with a franchise, potentially franchise quarterback, that you would have put tools around said franchise quarterback in order so that this franchise quarterback can succeed.
Sorry for that weird abrupt cut. Thank goodness I paused it in the middle of my uncle's speech because my internet, I guess my laptop just disconnected, but you can continue on with what you were saying.
Yeah, somebody in the cloud must be a really good Bears fans, because I think I was lighting them up, but I don't know. But all in all, I did like what Post did in the 5th, 6th, and 7th round to acquire more picks. Granted, they were late picks, but he did acquire more picks to address the offensive line later. So we'll see where those guys eventually wind up ending up. The coaching staff that we got, I believe, is really good and can coach these kids up. So we'll see. But all in all, I do think the only pick I question is Velus Jones Jr. That's it. If you were going to go defense with your first and your second pick, why not just stay defense? Just stay defense, especially and pick up a guy like Nakobe Dean who wound up going to Philadelphia. Now that's the one I was just like, oh, dude. And I texted it to you too. I was just like, okay, we're going defense. All right. Defensive head coach. He wants to address that defense first. I get it. But when that Velus Jones Jr. pick came up, I started scratching my head, and I'm like,
yeah, and I think there were better receivers on the board.
There were better receivers on the board.
George Pickens was there. Alec Pierce was there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why not take those?
Yeah, I think there were 3 of them that were still there that were quality wide receivers, much better wide receivers than Velus Jones Jr. And I was like, that is a weird time to sit up here and address special teams. I'm like,
it's okay. Like I said, I think he's just going to be their new gadget guy, their new version of Tyreek Hill.
Well, it seemed like to me they're trying to find the next Devin Hester, so to speak, with that pick. So, and I mean, I'm like, great. Okay. I don't know if at the time, I don't think Devin Hester was an anomaly. He was great in Miami, but at that particular time, we could have got Velus Jones Jr. in the 5th, I think.
Honestly.
I think they got desperate. Everyone was trading up to grab a wide receiver. It was 6 wide receivers taken in the first round, 7 wide receivers taken after that before the Bears picked at 71. So I'm just like, okay, they got desperate. So at the time, it was like, okay, who's the fastest wide, not the best. Who's the fastest wide receiver on the board? Well, Velus Jones Jr. Okay, get him.
Yeah. And then also just a quick update. I'll probably make a separate video about this. If Bear fans don't know, the Bears finally cut Nick Foles from the team, which they should have just did from the start of the season.
Yeah.
Don't know why. Nobody was going to.
That had to happen.
No, nobody was going to trade for this guy with his overbloated contract.
No.
They're not. That goes to show you how stupid Ryan Pace truly was. That he gave a 4th round pick just to get this dude with this overbloated contract. Ryan Poles tried to trade this guy off. No team wanted him.
Nope. And then on top of that, the Bears didn't want to eat his contract in the event of a trade. That was to me, that was the other point that should be made. I mean, when you try to trade a guy, sometimes the team is just like, okay, I tell you what, why don't you eat this percentage of his salary and we can make a deal. Bears didn't want to eat that salary. They wanted that salary gone. I get it. But I was just like, dude, man, you got to figure out a way. Eventually, you're going to eat his salary, which it turns out they wind up releasing and eating a portion of his salary.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a move that they should have just freaking made at the start of the offseason. Especially, they should have just made the decision after they signed Trevor Siemian to be the backup.
Yeah, they were going to eat it anyway.
So
just release him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of the thing there. Also, too, in terms of the undrafted free agents, I didn't see all of them. I know one of the undrafted free agents. I wish it was Justin Ross, but I'm guessing he has injury reasons. That's why no team has yet to pick him up, not to my knowledge yet. That was one of the guys that I was pushing the Bears to just say sign because he's actually a pretty good wide receiver, but they didn't take him. But the one undrafted free agent that I did see that was pretty interesting. Now, again, the running back room is kind of filled, especially with the fact that they took a Baylor running back, which again, it's another mind-boggling decision. But then I'm like, oh, special teams, somewhat guy. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
Don't know if that means David Montgomery is going to be not resigned, or maybe they might move him during the season. We'll see. But the one undrafted free agent that I was actually like, oh, I'm actually interested was the Bears signed Master Teague. If you don't know who Master Teague is, he used to be one of Justin Fields' teammates back at Ohio State.
Well, one thing I will tell you that it looks like to me that Ryan Poles, he came from the Kansas City organization. He really, really requires speed.
Yeah.
I mean, speed kills. You can't coach speed. I mean, it's just so it looks like across the board, his first quality that he looks for in a player is you have to be fast. If you are not fast, then you're going to have a problem with this organization. I mean, everyone that he's picked up so far has really good speed. And a couple of that he's gotten, speaking of, Velus Jones Jr. has exceptional speed. So he really, one of his requirements for being on the Chicago Bears, I can tell you based on the players that he's gotten, is that they have to be able to run. And that's why I think in the end, it's going to doom Montgomery. So although Montgomery can move the chains, but in the end, when Fields, he wants to go fast, I can tell, he wants to go fast. Everyone he's picked up, Brown, Pringle, which came from Kansas City, they are all fast. So look for the offense to be a quick strike offense, get that ball out within 3 seconds and let these fast guys do what they do.
Yeah. He said that, and I think he said that in his first press conference. Like his very first.
Yeah, he did. But at the same time, it's one thing to say it, but it's another thing to totally do it. This guy is picking up. He really, his first priority is speed. And you can definitely tell that. Even with the guys he's drafted, other than Velus Jones Jr., these guys can flat out run and get to the football on defense and get away from the defense on offense. Speed.
Yeah. So obviously, the Bears' first pick was the 39th pick in the NFL draft, and they surprisingly, I'm thinking, they're gonna go with either offensive lineman that's there, that's very talented, or a wide receiver that's there. They so totally subjected my thoughts, and they went defensive back, which had me pissed off because I'm like, okay, sure, fine, whatever, I'll let it pass. We got another pick. So we drafted Kylo Gordon out of Washington. He's a cornerback. And again, he's had a 4.52 as his 40-yard dash, so he's a fast guy. Just looking off NFL.com, his player bio, he was a top 25 ranked cornerback, naturally out of Archbishop Murphy High School in Washington. We racked up more than 1,300 yards from scrimmage as a senior. He redshirted, but played in 4 games in his freshman year. He actually earned honorable mention, all Pac-12 honors in each of the next 2 seasons, despite being stuck behind the, vast talents that the Huskies secondary had. And he played in 2019, all 13 games with 4 starts, had 32 tackles, 4 pass breakups, and played in all 4 games and 1 start in 2020. That was the COVID season. And then I think the following year, for the Pac-12, they voted him and fellow corner of his first team all Pac-12 defenders in 2021, because last year he had 46 tackles, 2 for losses, 2 interceptions, and had a team high 7 pass breakups. Just some overviews. He is a cornerback that comes with an elite high performance engine. And the one things just I saw from the highlights, he is like very, I guess you can say, aware of the ball where it's thrown and everything. Some strengths of his, he's equipped to play not only just a regular cornerback. One of the few important positions on Eberflus's defense was the nickel back. And it also says he can play not only outside corner, he can play nickel back.
Okay.
He possesses dynamic athleticism. His size and strength are prominent in his play. He is fluidity, buoyed by the harmonies of his hips and his feet, which I played cornerback. So that's the main thing about the position. It's about your feet and your hips really telling you where to go. Like that. He makes decisive and explosive reactive movements. His plant and drive juices on a different level. Times downfield balls search to receive receiver's hands. If he's used as a blitzer, then he can be highly disrupted. He plays with obviously that aggressive like dog mentality, which another trait that Poles wants in his players, the guy that are willing to get down and dirty and actually get after the ball, not be cowards like a Jermaine Fetty. So yeah, I still can't get over that. Some weaknesses of his, it's still working on the technical aspects of the position. His instincts are somewhat average. His coverage can get a little bit too cute at times. Needs to limit his latch and right hands underneath. Fully doesn't trust his eyes yet. Apparently misses too many tackles after catch, and will need to balance the urgency with some patience. From what I've heard, Gibson, he seems like he's going to be a solid corner. Now, I'm a UCLA fan. Washington doesn't play in the division of UCLA. They play in the Pac-12 North. But the one thing I do know about Washington is, as of late, they've actually had a pretty solid, defense. I think this is going to be a good pick. Obviously, this is going to be the second corner alongside Jalen Johnson. Now, the question is, will Eberflus or the defensive coordinator, Alan Williams, put him in at either a nickel or just a regular cornerback? We don't know what's going to happen. I think he's going to be good for us. And like I said, time will tell if he is, because if I start seeing him get burned, then that's when I'm going to have a problem. And I'm going to be questioning, why did we take a freaking DB with our first pick? But that's just me. The Bears are going to play cover 2, probably a lot. But it's going to be very interesting to see how Kyle Gibson goes. But I'm okay with the pick. I'll say that. It's not my first pick that I would take. But anything to shore up the freaking secondary, especially if it's to get Kendall Vildor or Artie Burns or whoever else is on the freaking sideline who's a cornerback on this team off the field.
Well, I'll put it to you like this. I was the same way. However, that said, I know how bad this secondary was. Man, it was horrible. You and I, we went on about it on camera, off camera, in our WhatsApp chat. We went on and on and on about how bad this secondary was. We blamed it all the way up to the defensive coordinator for not being able to put a scheme together, whereas these guys know what position they're supposed to be in. So we talked about that. So that said, then I got to admit, I did like the pick. I liked the pick, especially, but the reason why I liked the pick wasn't because of Jalen Johnson. It was because of Thomas Graham Jr. and how he impressed me as a cornerback and closing out the season. So now I'm sitting over there like, okay, Thomas Graham Jr. looks really good. Jalen Johnson is our clear-cut CB1, and now we just brought in another kid that can cover as well too. So with these 3 cornerbacks, I'm looking like, okay, well, the Bears are really looking pretty decent if Gordon can do what he's drafted to do, So I like the pick. He's not a small cornerback by no means. He's 6 foot, almost 200 pounds. So he has size, so, but the main thing for me is, we got to have some guys that can flat out cover. If they can cover, then I think whatever we do on offense, and keep in mind, we're not trying to, win the Super Bowl this year. It's going to be a gradual process. So we as fans, we always want, to just go ahead, and every year we want to be 16-0 or 17-0. That's not going to happen, especially not with the Bears. We may not have a successful season this season, but it's just a measuring stick to get better each year under the Poles Eberflus regime. So, but at the same time, just like anything else, there's 2 things that travel: defense and speed. And I think, especially with this pick, he did solve one of the. Well, he didn't solve the problem, but he added a tool to solve the problem in Kylo Gordon. Overall, I like the pick.
Yeah, definitely with the fact that the NFC North looks like they're going to have a bunch of dynamic receivers that I'm still waiting the Bears.
But at the same time, also keep in mind now, granted, you got to have DBs with the quarterback. With you got, I don't care what kind of wide receiving core Aaron Rodgers has, you got to have DBs. If you don't have DBs, just as well as I do, and we can't stand Aaron Rodgers, but he will pick you apart. He will pick you apart. He's going to put his wide receivers and his offense, regardless of who's on the roster, in a position to win. And if you are not ready to guard the receivers that he has, then yeah, we're going to have some problems. We got to have some DBs. So overall, I like the pick.
Yeah. So moving on to the next pick, it was the it was again in round 2, the 48th overall pick. I'm here thinking, okay, we got our corner. We gotta go offense here, and the Bears shocked me again, and they go defense. And personally, I was more furious this time because I'm like, why? But the Bears ended up taking Jaquan Brisker out of the University of Penn State. And apparently people are saying this dude could be a potential steal in the draft. The way I look at it is this. He's a safety. You can easily put him in the backfield alongside Eddie Jackson. He's a strong safety, so which means you can have Eddie Jackson play free safety like he used to back in 2018. Here's what I think of the move. I like it because it seems like everything I'm hearing about this guy seems like it's legit. But I feel like this is one of these makeup picks that guess what? Ryan Poles. So, they had a good safety back in the day as Adrian Amos, and they didn't resign him when they probably should have just resigned him. Maybe have just let Eddie Jackson walk. Who knows? I feel like, in my personal opinion, it was just a makeup for the Adrian Amos type of thing. And it's funny because these two players are both from Penn State. They're both hard hitters. The only thing from what I'm hearing, I think I watched some sort of live stream with Greg Gabriel saying that this dude is probably better at covering than Adrian Amos is. But just going over just a scouting report from this guy, his 40-yard dash was a 4.49. So he's, again, another fast player. He's 6'1", which is another tall player. Some positives of his: he's a smart player who shows instincts and awareness for the game. He's excellent in the box, shoots the gaps, and holds up very well with taking on linemen. He has a very good burst when blitzing and flexibility to bend the edge. Does a great job tracking the ball in the open field and through traffic. He's a violent tackler who arrives at the ball with bad intentions and can play underneath coverages in zone, as well as man coverage at the slot. So maybe sometimes he can play nickel and be like right then and there and lock down a receiver. I'll take it. He plays the position or the safety position with range and timing and has the skills to play the ball in the air, something we've been desperately needing. Some negatives of his is he's rocked on his heels when pressed with speed. He can be tight a tight pedal at times with hip stiffness, flipping to recover. Simple practice that can work on. He can struggle when asked to disguise deep in coverage, needs to be present in deep coverage before the play. He was a 3-year player, 2-year starter. All in all, a lot of people say this dude's going to be like a legit safety that's going to help us out a lot and is going to definitely help Eddie Jackson that doesn't like to tackle because he likes to go out in videos and say anybody can tackle. It's all about interceptions. Yeah, sure. I better see you getting 10 interceptions this year, Eddie, if you're going to say that. Regardless, I think Jaquan Brisker is going to be that type of freaking safety that is going to be like really good for us. I think he's going to be that hard-hitting safety that, we need. And again, seems like this guy, when needed, he can lock down receivers. So if you're telling me my secondary is Jalen Johnson, Kyle Gordon, Jaquan Brisker, Eddie Jackson, whoever I'm guessing the nickel's going to more than likely be potentially Thomas Graham Jr. unless somebody else that I don't know of. I guess maybe that safety we dropped at the end because he's pretty versatile too. It seems like all in all, you're creating potentially maybe, I wouldn't say as dominant as the Legion of Boom secondary, but something similar to that where it's a no-fly zone. And if that's going to be the thing and I see these guys not getting cooked, then I'm good. As long as I don't see, but like I said, the only reason why it's just, I'm cool with the pick. The only reason why I'm against it is like, well, then I better not see Jaquan Brisker, Kyle Gibson, or Gordon, my bad, get burned or get cooked. And I better not see a wide receiver 15 yards down the field and our secondary is 10 yards away from them. So we'll see. I think this is a good pick. This is a nice, this is a nice safety pick. And who's to say that maybe the safety we drafted later, which we'll get to later in the video, might eventually be the replacement to Eddie Jackson.
Well, they're rookies, so they're gonna get cooked. That's just a fact of life. I don't know one rookie that was never cooked his rookie year. So they're gonna get cooked. They're rookies.
I
You know,
hope
they
not.
don't know anything. They're not coming in knowing everything. However, me, I love this pick. I love this dude. I mean, this cat, he's another one of those. Now, and I know we're talking, it's just potentially, and I said it earlier, potentially. To me, this is that kind of guy. What the one problem that I had with Eddie Jackson is when they put him in the box, he didn't want to get up in the box and make hits. He wanted to get up in the box and arm tackle and things of that nature. And I don't know, man, this ain't that. Brisker is going to get up in that box and he is going to hit people. It's just that simple.
He's pretty much Adrian Amos.
What? Say that again?
He's pretty much Adrian Amos 2.0 right
Well,
there.
I mean, he could potentially be better than that. I mentioned Steve Atwater earlier. I mean, to me, that's what I see out of Jaquan Brisker. I mean, this guy is a flat out big hitter. And I love his speed. I love his instincts to the ball. I love the fact his size. You know, I love everything. And with Alan Williams as our defensive coordinator, I can tell you, I'm gonna just love the potential of what this man can do with this defense. So I love this pick. I really did. And I was familiar with him because I saw that he had it was a game against Wisconsin. And I was just like looking at this game. And I'm like, who is this number one cat? This number one is like, he's everywhere. He's absolutely everywhere. And I didn't really think much about it, but I was like, man, this cat is on some next level. Okay, all right. So he passed my eye test, and then come to find out they drafted the guy, and I was just like, I didn't know his name, so I was just like, oh, that's number one. When I just looking at the tape, I was like, oh, hell yeah, hell yeah, oh yeah, I love this pick, love it. Love it. I mean, the one thing I think we've always missed is flat out physical football at the line of scrimmage. And when we are in positions where we know the offense is going to run the ball, I mean, to have Brisker at the line of scrimmage or even have Brisker in the box with a cat like Roquan, oh man, I'm loving the potential possibilities of what they could do, you know, in the run game. I love it. Love this pick. There's nothing you can do to change my mind. Just love the pick. And we're going to have the guy for 4 to 5 years too.
Yep. So
I'm loving the pick.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah. Can't wait to see what he's going to bring to the defense. I will say the credit to the first two defensive guys. They look like they're like a bunch of high energy like guys. And you know, that's the type of players that Ryan Poles wants. Energy guys.
Yes, we do not want players like Kyle Fuller in this defense. No players like Kyle Fuller. We need man covers, corners. We need man. We need people that can cover a man. We know eventually they're going to play zone, cover two more than likely. But when it's all said and done, no Kyle Fullers. Please, no Kyle Fullers.
I'll just say one thing. I think Penn State's social media posted him in a Bears jersey wearing number 1. And I'm like, bro's going to have to get his number changed because somebody's already wearing number 1 here.
Yeah. Don't even try it, bro. No. I love you, I'm telling you, I love this dude for his potential. But, bro, you're going to have to pick 11 or.
I can't pick 11 because Darnell Mooney got that number 2.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, they know 11, 2, 3. All right. You know, something. You got to pick another number, you know. But yeah, you know, pick 111.
Maybe you can take Eddie Jackson's number if he actually plays better than him next year.
Well, this will allow. I think you're highly correct about this. Will allow Eddie to play his normal free safety position, in which he can just roam and be that, you know, third or fourth, you know, cornerback to just, you know, zone out the defense to try to get turnovers and things of that nature. That's the kind of player Eddie Jackson was. He's not a tackler or a, you know, he's nothing like Brisker, in my opinion. He wasn't like that at Alabama. So he's more of, you know, what he was that first year under Fangio. That's him. So hopefully, then, hopefully he can revert back to that and we can use this defense to get some turnovers. And yeah, so, but his contract is what it is. So it's like, I don't think we can get out of it.
Yeah.
All
right. The next pick of the draft, and that was in the third round.
Here we go.
And
here we go. We might have to stop the video for this one because this one is going to take a good little while to talk about.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest. I think with the few exceptions of some Bear fans are like, well, we'll just see what it is. Most of the people I've seen, like, they're just not a believer in this dude. I'm not a freaking believer in this dude until further notice. And listen, I'm not trying to say that this guy is not good. I want this guy to shock me. I want this guy to freaking prove me wrong and make me eat my words for what I'm going to say. But I'm sorry. I just don't believe in this pick of Velus Jones Jr. Like we hinted at the start of the video. I think there were better options on the board. But here's the reason why the Bears took this guy. Simple. I'm going to his scouting report on NFL.com.
You can just end by saying he's fast. That's it. That's the only reason why. Yeah. He was the fastest guy on the board at the time. That's the only reason why the Bears picked him. He ran a 4.3.
4.31.
4.3140. That's the only reason. That's the reason why the Bears picked him.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. He could have been 5'2", and I think the Bears would have drafted him because he's the fastest cat on the board. That's the only reason why I can think of as far as why they picked this guy.
Yep. His overview on NFL Network is he's a special team specialist with good size despite spending 6 seasons in college between USC and then Tennessee. Last year was finally apparently his breakout year. Also, he's going to be turning 25 and literally, in May, which is, as of this video, it's going to be tomorrow, or today is May 1st. Jones has a very modest production as a wideout, but flash potential in that area in 2021. He's fearless with the ball in the hands and after the catch and as a kick returner. He's not a very fundamentally sound route runner. Might not need to be if teams view him as a catch and run specialist. In the quick game underneath, Jones has a chance to ride his special teams versatility into a specialist spot on a roster, which is the Bears. Some strengths of his is he can line up inside or outside as a receiver. Route showed some improvement later in the season when he was with Tennessee. His play strength is to fight through contact and work through the ball. That was the one thing. He breaks tackles, and then the moment he's gone, I guess you can say he's gone because of his speed. He finishes the catch despite heavy hits by defenders. His run after catch talent is a factor, which is another reason why. He tears out of arm tackles, gives his body for every additional yard. Special teams wizard. He's a determined and talented as a kick returner, can play gunner, an average 15 yards per punt return in 2021. His weaknesses, again, could be the fact that he's a 25-year-old rookie. And if he's very injury prone, well, then you can contribute to age being a factor in that. He has below average wingspan and catch radius, doesn't drive hard on his routes off the snap. Unnatural stride lengths, gives away route stems, inefficient footwork for his routes. And then he's only really asked to run extremely basic routes, like probably a fade or a slant or something like that.
Or just a flat out go route.
Yeah. Before I turn it over to my uncle, just some basic things. Like I said, Ryan, who this guy reminds me of what we had in Jakeem Grant last year. Mm-hmm. So it's like, why take this guy when you should have just resigned Jakeem Grant? But you just let him walk to the freaking Browns. And funny enough, Justin Fields last year said, well, I really like this guy. I'm happy he's on our team. Why did you not sign him again? Maybe he was asking for too money. That's probably why. And then also, I guess you can compare him to Tariq Cohen, who was supposed to be our special teams gadget-like guy, because this is what this guy is. He's a gadget special teams returner. It's the whole thing. Oh, if he's on offense and he somehow gets it into space, watch out. So I can envision seeing a lot of bubble screens. Man, if Nagy was here, he'd be doing it out of the ass.
Yep.
slants, because if he's
Yep.
able to freaking make that first step and get a defender off its feet, simple in that. Or if it's just a straight up go route and he gets past the defender, simple as that. That's what I see this guy envisioning doing. I don't see this guy running like these extravagant routes and stuff like that, like a stop and go or a post and up or some other routes that are just, I guess you can say, something that you probably see Darnell Mooney would run. Um, I'm not really sold on this pick, to be honest, because it's a special teams gadget guy. It reminds me of Jakeem Grant. It reminds me of Tariq Cohen. Just a dude that you put in there and say, let's find a way to get him the ball. He's a playmaker. I can respect that. But at the end of the day, this guy needs to prove me. Prove me. Okay, why do we draft this guy? And this guy doesn't do anything, doesn't make enough production other than special teams wise, then it's a failure of a pick, because I think George Pickens was there despite the apparent attitude issues that he may or may not have. Alan Pierce was there. I would have taken him. There was better receivers on the board, in my opinion, over Velus Jones Jr.'s. I think Poles and Eberflus just took this guy because he's fast. And if we can find some way to get in the ball from Justin Field, well then, yeah. You better hope this guy pans out to be your version of Tyreek Hill, Brian Poles. Otherwise, this will not look good.
Well, just like I said before, he's fast. I think he was the fastest guy on the board at the time at that position. So they were just like, okay, I need speed. We need speed. What are some ways that teams need speed? Okay, we want to get the ball out quick. Okay, if you know you got a fast guy that can take the top off the defense, it may extend that defense out a little bit, maybe at the safety position. So then, yeah, you might be able to get someone that slot receiver, a bubble screen or a quick slant and things of that nature, because you know you got two guys on the end that can take the top off the defense. You got two guys on the ends that can take the top off the defense. It opens up what you can do in the middle, because the safeties are going to be aware of that and maybe stand a little back a little further. So I get it. That said, this guy's that's still a gadget wide receiver for me. It's still a gadget wide receiver, because you're not really looking to involve him in the offense other than being some type of decoy. All right. Special teams. Again, he's a fast guy. We need a guy that can, again, take the top off the defense. So when you have take the top off special teams, when you have that really good fast guy that can elude and get past people, then yeah, that's really good in special teams, kickoffs and punt returns. So, I mean, can you put Velus Jones Jr. in a slot? Sure, you can put him in the slot, but he can take the top off the defense that way as well too. So I was not crazy about this pick, simply from the standpoint your first two picks were based on the defense. So if you're going to go ahead and reach with a really fast guy in the third round, a guy you could have got with your picks in the 5th, 6th, and 7th, they had 2 5s and 3 6s and 3 7s. So you could have got this guy definitely in the 5th round. My thing was, you got the top 2 picks, they were defense. Why not just stay defense? So
or go offensive line.
Yeah, or offensive line. I mean, you had a plethora of guys on defensively you still could have grabbed. Nakobe Dean was still there. And that's the one I was just like, oh, shoot, Nakobe is still there. Yeah, I would love to see him, at that outside spot with Roquan in the middle. And then if Roquan, for whatever reason, gets moved to another, or if he gets hurt or anything like that, you can stick Nakobe Dean up in there. And then, yeah, we would have 2 really good, solid interior linebackers that can really do something for this defense. That's just me. Yeah, I'm a fan. So yeah, fans have their wants, needs, and desires, but we don't know what's going inside the war room. That said, they have to have some type of reason why this guy was picked in the 3rd round. I mean, maybe I think you're probably right, because he's trying to make this offense into something similar to what was there in Kansas City. So he has to have that really fast guy. He has to have that really fast guy. And that's the only other thing that I can think of. They're trying to turn this guy into something that potentially he probably could develop into. Right now, I can't see it, but we'll see. But I was not sold on this pick at all. I'm sold on speed. Don't get me wrong. Speed kills, speed travels, but I'm sold on it. But not with this particular pick at this particular time. There were other needs that could have been addressed at other positions, and I don't think the Bears really solved their need with this pick, especially in the third round. And you had no fourth rounder picks. You were going to be able to let, and then he traded down. So, it was a head scratcher for me.
Yeah. Unlike the first two picks, this is a guy where it's like, you better make an immediate impact. Otherwise, I'm going to start crap talking this move every time I see it.
Yeah, the first two I think can make immediate impacts. The first two, yes, sure, without a doubt. Velus Jones Jr., he might have a kickoff return for a touchdown, what makes us say, hey, yeah, wow, I think we got something here. Okay.
What does he do on offense?
Exactly. So, I mean, it's just like, you might see him as a really good kick returner. He may have show a highlight or two, in special teams. Wonderful. But dude, man, we got a franchise changing quarterback potentially in our stable, and you're going to sit up here and give him a gadget guy? Man, he needs a number one guy. And I don't see it in Velus Jones Jr., but I'm not the expert.
Yep.
I just don't see it. I don't see it one bit, one way or the other. I don't see it.
Yeah. This was the only wide receiver in the draft taken, which highly disappointed me. Now, we did take some undrafted free agents, but what are the chances they even make the freaking team? Probably not, unless they somehow shock the world of this coaching staff. Just to talk about the wide receiver room, if you're asking me, my wide receiver room is Darnell Mooney as the number one, pretty much, which I don't believe he's a number one. If you're as a Bear fan, you're going to get butthurt about that. He's not a number one.
He's not a number one. He's not a number one.
Byron Pringle is going to be your number two. He all right, but especially after his
he's already showed his immaturity by getting in trouble with the law, right after he gets, signed by us.
Yeah. Then you got
that doesn't impress me at all.
Yep. You got Equinemius St. Brown, who could be maybe a potential breakout player because he didn't get a lot of feature time in Green Bay, and the former Green Bay passing game coordinator. He is our OC, so maybe he's a tall dude, but time will tell if that's the thing. He's kind of on a 1-year prove-it deal to see if he got something to offer. Got Daz Newsome, who you drafted last year. He's another small guy. I wanted to see him play some last year, but when he did play, he wasn't really impressive. He kind of made a fool out of himself, and then I don't even know who the heck else. And then you got to add Velus Jones Jr. to this thing. So far, if you ask me, the weakest point of this team right now is wide receiver, because we do not have any go-to guy. Heck, if you got Equinemius St. Brown being I think the only 6-foot receiver we got on the team, what are we doing?
Velus Jones Jr. is a 6-footer.
Pringle?
Yeah, Velus Jones Jr. is a 6-footer. I think he's 6 foot.
He's 5'11".
Okay, 1 inch here, there. I mean, so he's still. I'm gonna say 6 feet. Now, granted, it's even the same with basketball, man. Charles Barkley listed himself as 6'7" before the pre-draft camp, and then during the pre-draft camp, they found out he was 6'4"3/4. So I mean, I get it, but for me, this is the worst wide receiving core in the league.
Yeah. And
I'm sorry, there is, and I think I made a post about it on Facebook, that for me, there are CB1s that are better than our wide receiver one. There are more of those than what we have than the wide receiver one. Specifically, Darnell Mooney is not as good as the majority of CB1s in the NFL. He's not as good. So if you line up their CB1 against our wide receiver one, I'm going to say the likelihood of their CB1 winning that matchup.
Yeah. And
for me,
if Darnell Mooney gets locked up, Who else you got in the throw to?
Who else you got in the stable? Who
The
else you
thing
got in the
is,
stable?
yeah. The thing is, we had a number one wide receiver. It gives the freaking defense pause, like, okay, we got to focus more on this guy, which opens up everybody else. We
Correct.
don't have that yet. I don't know what Ryan Poles' plan on getting this. I don't know if he's going to try to get this next year in free agency. Deebo Samuel, if he doesn't get re-signed by the 49ers, is going to be an unrestricted free agent on the market that everybody is going to be trying to go after and pay big time cash. Will you sacrifice all that money to get him? You would have to think about it. I would say so. Other than that, I don't know any other receiver in free agency that's going to come out that's a dude, unless the plan is we suck for next year and we get a top 10 pick and hopefully take a very talented receiver coming out of the draft next year.
Well, maybe, but I do think, yeah, we're going to have a crap load of money for next football season. So yeah, build that defense up with a lot of young, promising guys. Bring on offense a bunch of guys on 1-year contracts, so then that way you release capital so that you can have cap room to sign whoever you want for next football season. I get that, and that sounds like a really good plan. The only risky part is, again, you have a franchise changing quarterback that could potentially change this franchise for years on end. You do not want to risk his health and his trust in the franchise moving forward, because he's on a clock too. He's in his second year of a 5-year contract, and after that 4th year, they have to be willing to bring him along for the 5th. So, I mean, like, let's find out what this guy can do, but let's not do it at risk of his health, because that offensive line was such in shambles last year that the dude was practically running for his life. So, I mean, I get it, but, I would have liked them to sing this year, instead of going towards defense this year, go towards the defense next year, but build that offense and build a foundation for that offense this year, and let the defense have it next year with the cap room. But it seems like they flip-flopped it. I'm gonna build the defense through the draft, and I'm gonna build the defense this way, so we have a solid defensive unit for next year when we bring all these offensive players in with this cap room we're gonna have. So, that's a choice that it looks like to me that Poles made, and Eberflus is okay with it. Just so as long as, hey man, so as long as my defense is right, I think we'll be fine. But they have to have a really good strategy on offense, because this wide receiver room is with a bunch of 2s, 3s, and 4s. There's no one in that group.
And even if you want to add tight ends, they're not as talented.
The tight end group is not good either. Cole Kmet has shown that he is
okay.
Average. He's average.
Yeah.
We thought he was better coming out of the draft when he was drafted in the 2nd round. We thought he was better coming out of Notre Dame. So and then on top of that, the offensive line. They must have a lot of faith in Borman Jenkins to not address the offensive line until what, the 5th round?
5th round. They made four linemen pick that potentially could be fighting for that right guard position.
Yeah. And then we did pick up a guy from Minnesota, Dozier, I think it was.
Yeah, so, but he sucks.
I mean, yes. Why do you think Minnesota let him go? So again, that's just what it seems like to me. I'm gonna build the defense with free agency. Build the defense, through the draft with all these young, up-and-coming young Thundercats. And then when we have our cap room next year, 123 million, I believe it is right now. I haven't looked over the cap in about a week or so it could have changed. But 123 million last time I saw over the cap that we're going to have for next football season. Okay, great. Now I'm thinking that's what it looks like to me.
Yeah,
that they're going to use that cap room to build the offense next year.
Yeah.
So you're going to go an entire football season with a piss poor offensive line, a piss poor tight end room, a piss poor wide receiver room, and Justin Fields. So you're going to go 17 games with that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think I would have done it the other way around.
I think, yeah, I'd agree. I think I said it for the longest time. Just copy the Cincinnati Bengals formula of what they did last year in the draft. Address the offense, give help to Joe Burrow. Guess what happened? Ended up in the Super Bowl.
Yep. Build that offense. Build that offense with these young up and coming Thundercats. And then that way you got these young up and coming Thundercats on your offense for the next 5 years.
Yep. But hey, it's the Chicago Bears. They don't prioritize offense because they still don't
prioritize offense. They
don't believe in the 21st century. They only believe that defense is still going to take them somewhere.
Defense, let's put all this money into this defense, and let's let's nickel and dime the offense. Yeah. And you know what? And I always ask, what's the constant? The Bears have done this throughout
the entire history.
My lifetime. The Bears have done this throughout my lifetime. And who has been the one constant throughout that entire time and all my years on this earth? Who has been that one constant? And it's been the McCaskies.
Yep.
It's been the McCaskies.
George and Ted. Oh, God, I can't wait till they're done.
Yep. It's been the McCaskies. I want a really good, strong defense. Go get me a strong defense. Okay, we're going to get you a strong defense, but you're going to get guys on offense and,
Yeah. Anyways, moving on.
The
fifth pick that was today, like I said, I thought the fifth pick I thought this round was a lot better than the first night, mostly because the Velus Jones Jr. pick just didn't do it for me. But we took an offensive tackle, and we took Braxton Jones out of Southern Utah State. Now, looking at his scouting report on Bleacher Report, his height is 6'5". He's 310 pounds. He ran a 4.97, which, okay, a pretty athletic big man.
Speed.
Yeah.
He was probably the fastest offensive lineman on the board. He wasn't the biggest. I mean, 6'5", 310, that's still a big guy, But at the same time, though, the one thing that stuck out to me was, he's speed. He can run, get these offensive linemen out in space so that they can wide receiver screen, bubble screens, things like that, running back screens. They want to be able to get the ball out quick and move fast. So, what do you need? You need fast offensive linemen that can get to the point of attack so that, yes, we can attack your defense.
Yep.
Speed.
Some positives is he has excellent arm length to establish meaningful contact on defenders. He's a solid run blocker who runs his feet through contact with tight hand placement and strong hands to control and steer defenders. He plays with an aggressive demeanor, another trait that Ryan Poles wants, especially in his offensive line. Again, we don't want no more, excuse my language, bitches like Jermaine Fetty on this team no more.
You leave Jermaine Fetty alone. He gone.
I can't get over that damn
somebody else's problem.
Oh, he's the Falcons' problem. And guess who?
Somebody else's problem. Let him.
For people who don't know, he's with the Falcons now. And guess who's over there in Atlanta? Good old Ryan Pace. I find that hilarious.
Leave Jermaine alone. He gone. He's not even a part of his organization anymore.
Going on, he processes line games quickly to sort out the most dangerous threat and pass and pick up stunts. He has a high cut frame and straight-legged upright play style that leaves him vulnerable to getting overextended and pulled off balance. And these are some of the negatives that I'm saying. He lets too much air under his feet when he kicks. His pass sets limiting his stopping power and ability to anchor on command, and tends to catch rather than strike in pass protection, giving easy access to his frame. He's had 29 career starts. The one thing I did hear is it seems like he's pretty versatile too, so he could potentially play right guard as well, because right now that's kind of an issue on the line with the fact that it seems like the line is going to look like what is it? We got Larry Borum, because we saw, I guess, found out from voluntary minicamp, Larry Borum is at left tackle. Obviously, you have Whitehair at left guard. Lucas Patrick is more than likely going to be your ideal center until, I guess, this center from Illinois develops good enough to then take the reins. Right guard is kind of up in the air with what's going on there. And then Tevin Jenkins moves back to his original position, which is the right tackle position. So
I think they're going to flip flop. I think they're going to wind up flip flopping Borum and Jenkins, just to see. They're going to move these guys around just to see who plays well at what position. Because I think I thought Borum was a normal right tackle and Jenkins was normal left tackle. So that's me. I would prefer to see. To me, that's when they I think they work well best when they were in those positions. I think Cody Whitehair is obviously coming out of the center position, which is good, and go to guard so that Patrick can be center. But it's going to be that right guard position that I think is going to be the key. And I think that's where these offensive linemen that we're grabbing, I think, that right guard position is going to be the key. So I think that's where the majority of all these guys are going to play, just so we can solidify the right guard position. Because Dozier ain't it.
I feel like
he's definitely he's a stopgap.
He's
a stopgap. He's only going to be here for, I think, 1 year, until one of these other young Thundercats either make it or don't. And then we'll probably be in this position next year if they don't.
This guy could potentially play guard, or maybe they're just saying, oh, well, if you're not fit to play guard, then maybe we could use you just potentially maybe a backup plan if the tackle situation just doesn't work.
Correct.
With either
Correct. He's tall enough to play tackle and big enough to play guard. So he could do either. He could do either, But again, like I said, the one thing that just stuck out to me until somebody tells me different is that, again, Poles wants speed at every position. And you can roll this guy out from the guard position, meaning that right guard. You can roll this guy out from the guard position and he'll get to the point of attack a heck of a lot quicker because, he ran a low 4.9. A low 4.9. So, I mean, to me, it's speed. It's until I see different. The one thing the one quality that Poles has over every other quality in a football player seems like to me is you have to be able to run. You have to be able to run fast.
I like this pick strictly from the fact it addressed the need of offensive line.
Correct.
I was good with it. Hopefully Braxton Jones, if he gets a shot, he does good. And, hopefully the offensive line coaches on the staff, they develop him well as the other offensive line that we'll get to later. Anything else you want to say on him before we move on to the
next? Man, like I say, let's go on, but just same thing. Speed. It's just speed. He runs fast. So we can move on.
Yep. So again, another 5th round pick that we had in the draft. With the 174th overall pick, we took the edge rusher out of Miami, Ohio, Dominique Robinson. And going over just his scouting report from NFL.com, 40-yard dash, 4.72. Another fast guy off the edge.
Another fast guy.
Now, apparently this guy, he did play wide receiver in college, but he mostly played defense. Now, his overview goes on to say a wideout turned quarterback hunter with the breaks and motor needed to build an impactful career as a 3-4 outside linebacker or a 4-3 rush end. Again, we changed that defense. Now we're a 4-3. Robinson frequently flashes despite his relatively inexperience at the position. So this is going to be a dude that's going to have to develop at this position.
Correct.
Before he gets legitimately meaningful reps. Now,
correct.
He can be mentored under Robert Quinn. I think the 2 edge rushers that we got really are going to be just a rotation of Quinn, Gibson, Alquan Muhammad, and stuff like that. Going on with what he's saying, he's quick off the snap, plus fluidity, athleticism, and he's bent to trim the edge and assail the pocket. However, he needs additional moves and counters before he's ready to beat pro tackles. He also must get stronger and more technically sound in the run support. Aligning as a stand-up rush linebacker might help expand his range as a playmaker in space. Robinson projects as an unpolished gem with a high ceiling and stable floor. Some strengths of his, again, former wideout. So he's got some athleticism off the edge. His play is more natural than given his experience. He's unveiled effective two-inch swipe against when he played Central Michigan. He bends, flattens, and bursts to snare into sacks. It's hard for blockers to keep him centered up and sustain, cover serious ground and rallies to the football versus the run, which is another trait that Poles wants to have, especially in this defense. The one thing I know about this defense, the Lovie Smith defense, is if you're a player on the defense, you better be running after the ball 100%. Otherwise, you're not playing.
Correct. You got to be fast to the ball, fast to the point of attack. And this is just another thing that, I honestly think, and I'm going to keep saying it, and I'm pretty sure all your subscribers are going to say the same thing. Hey, Cameron, would you tell your uncle to stop talking about speed? Well, I mean, unfortunately, speed kills. That's what it does. So he has to be able to get to the quarterback. I can only see this kid in, passing situations in which, 2nd and 10, 3rd and 10, things of that nature. I can, when we know that you're going to pass the football, I can see that this kid is going to be in the game just so we can get to the quarterback. So I can't see him in running situations. He's not very big. I think he's like 6. Well, he's 6'5", 253. He's a pass rusher. Yeah, he's a pass rusher. That's plain and simple. So, but again, rookie, we'll see what happens. I mean, we still, we got Gibson, who will probably wind up, again, being the edge rusher on the left side while Clint is on the right side. So the interior lineman, that's another issue I have with the defense as well, too. So we will see. But, again, it just, he was probably the fastest edge rusher on the board at the time in a draft full of edge rushers.
Yeah. I think out of all the prospects, he's probably going to be the most raw one and the one that probably needs the most development. So,
and keep in mind his age, he's older too. He's going to be 24 years old this year.
Yeah. He played all 4 years in Miami, Ohio.
Yeah, he's going to be 24 years old. So he does have a lot of experience, but at the same time, at his position, how much can we, see that he's going to be around at the age of 24? Yeah.
He's definitely going to be a project in the making, and we'll see what he's got. So yeah. 6th round pick. With the 186th pick in the draft, we went with the guard, Zachary Thomas out of San Diego State. Going over his overview, he's 6'5", 308 pounds. He is 40-yard dash, 4.96. Jeez Louise, I said 4.69. That guy's fast.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's 4.96. Again, another fast offensive lineman.
Yep.
His overview, he's a tackle to guard prospect with run blocking talent to work with. Thomas is fit for a zone scheme, which apparently is what we're going to run.
Correct. Because in a zone scheme, again, you have to get to the point of attack. Wherever you're trying, whatever space on the field that you're trying to attack, your offensive lineman has to be quick to that point of attack. Thus, your quickness off the line of scrimmage and your speed to the actual point of attack. There goes your 4.96. So these guys have to be able to get there quickly, get there fast, and get there before the defense does. So again, it's just, he's another tall guy. He's not, a big beefy guy and, 330, 350. He's not that big, but, but it goes back to show me again. So it's got to be fast.
Again, he's fit for his own scheme as a sticky move blocker with the ability to shift and stay connected while continuing to keep his feet moving. He lacks the desired mass and power to generate much downhill push, but improved hand placement could help. His play strength in general needs an upgrade, as he does his protection posture to prevent defenders from exploring certain flaws. Thomas has a late round potential, but again, he's already got selected by the Bears. Some strengths. Broad across his upper body with room for more muscle, comes off the snap with excellent pad level, stays low and fits into blocks with leverage, engages and runs feet through the whistle, athleticism and body control to stay connected to the block, active feet to mirror the rush. Some weaknesses: he lacks explosiveness into contact, doesn't generate much pop into getting to down blocks. Hand placement can get away from him at some times, needs to be a better job of resetting hands when he gets behind, plays with lunge when climbing back up to linebackers. Punch can get timid, swatted by defenders, needs to maintain a flat back protection posture, and more rigid punch to firm edge is required. Again, I think this is one of these guys that could compete for the open right guard position right then and there.
Correct.
Since he's a guard.
Correct.
So I think this is, again, another solid pick. I'm not mad at this pick. It's another offensive line. And again, it's only time will tell if this guy develops and becomes maybe a really good, prospect in the making.
Correct. And I agree with you as well, too. I mean, then on top, I'm looking at Pro Football Focus, where it also said he played all 5 positions at some point in his football career. So again, they're going to move him around. He seems to be adept at, the guard and the tackle positions. So that type of versatility allows me to think that, yeah, that right guard position of the Chicago Bears is a huge need at this particular moment. So, yeah, they're going to see who they can fit into that position. But the one quality of this position that he's going to want to show is he has to get to the point of attack fast.
Yep, pretty much.
Yep.
Going on, next pick, 6th round pick, the 203rd pick in the draft. It's kind of another head scratching decision because I'm like, why? But then when they said, oh, special teams, I'm like, great. We took running back Treston Ebner out of Baylor. So Baylor Bear, he's going to be a Chicago Bear. So he's not going to change teams much.
Yeah.
His 40 time 4.43. I think
fast.
Yeah.
For running back, fast.
Yeah. His overview is he's a swift Army knight with size and speed and versatility to potentially help in 3 different phases for a team. Ebner is a former all-state prep receiver whose mismatch potential out of the backfield should rank as his most endearing play trait. He's been productive kick returner with open field vision and build up speed to hit big plays. Despite his size, he's underwhelming as a runner and struggles to play with consistent decisiveness and aggression in that role. Some strengths: has an enticing blend of size and versatility, runs, catches, and returns both kicks and punts. Size to be low for tacklers when he's amped up, dangerous weapon to mismatch linebackers out of the backfield. So definitely you can see this guy be in the backfield with Justin. They motion him out, see if a linebacker's got him covered on man. Simple as that.
Correct. Probably a lot of 4 wide receiver sets with 1 running back, just to see if we can get this guy in coverage with potentially a linebacker or a very slow safety or things of that nature. I see him as special teams replacing Justin Hebert. I think Justin Hebert is going to get more quality snaps as an actual running back. So I can see, to me, this was a special teams move. Special teams move, kickoff returns, have this guy do kickoff returns. And let's see what he can do from there. I just think that this was a move to see what more Justin Hebert can do in the backfield, because I really was impressed with him last year. No matter how many times he touched the ball, he seemed to do something positive with it, especially when Montgomery got hurt and he went down. So we'll see. But, yeah, to me, this was a special teams move all the way.
Yeah. Some other positives: he posted 11 receiving touchdowns during his Baylor career, which is actually, again, maybe you can even put this guy as a wide receiver at some points if he makes the roster.
Maybe. Again, he's 4.4. He runs a 4.4. So a 4.4 in the slot, it's still okay. it's in the slot is okay, because most times you're going to be paired up with depending on the sets. I mean, if it's a dime package, the likelihood of you coming up against a linebacker is slim to none. But in a nickel package, yes, you can probably get a nice little you might get a pairing that is to your liking. So we'll see. But to me, this is all special teams, nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah. In his Baylor career, he did have 3 kickoff returns for a touchdown. So we'll see. It's kind of a thing where we'll see if he makes the roster. And again, it's another interesting point that they took another running back in this draft, because you have to wonder, maybe they like that Montgomery is like that energy, that motor, the thing that carries the team. But maybe they just don't like the fact that maybe he's not as fast as, say, Herbert or this guy as well. So we'll see. I wouldn't be shocked if maybe they move Montgomery before the trade deadline, or they just let him walk. We'll see what they do with Montgomery. I don't know. It's going to be pretty interesting to see what they're going to do.
I got to admit, it's not really looking too good for Montgomery long term with the Chicago Bears, because, I mean, he moves the chains. I will get you. If you have a really good, 2 tight end single back set in which you want to show your power as an offense, then yeah, Montgomery is a really good back for that, But when you are in a 4 wide, 1 running back set, when you want to be quick, fast, and in a hurry, I don't really know if David Montgomery is your guy. So Pose, to me, just seems like, there are qualities that he's looking for. And I just don't think that Montgomery possesses those qualities that Ryan Poles is actually looking for in a running back.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see where that goes. Next pick, 6th round pick, 207th overall pick in the draft from the 6th round. And we take the center, Doug Kramer from Illinois, who isn't going to be leaving the state of Illinois anytime soon. He's going to be a Chicago Bear. Apparently, Bears are also his favorite team, just like, I guess, his new teammate Cole Kmet was a Bears fan. So pretty cool story. I think it's pretty cool when these players, and that just goes for any just professional sport, they get drafted by a team that they grew up watching, they grew up liking. Correct. Yeah, pretty cool. His 40 time was 4.95. Again, the guy who got, at least 4 second time. Some strengths of his awareness is above average for his limited experience. Sells trap blocks, and can turn to seal. Fluid getting to and adjust at the second level on the short. He's on the short and stocky side, but has lateral agility and a punch to make up for it. Finishes plays and will reset to recover and drive linemen out of the plays. Anchors well in plays with a low center of gravity and natural bend to seal the inside lanes. Has violent hands with hustle, close off the bubble screens, and lead to flatten linebackers. Nasty demeanor and highly coachable. All things I like to hear. Some weaknesses is he can lose leverage battles and play with high pad level, can be laid off the snap. He's a finesse blocker with an average arm length who doesn't use his hands well to win at the point of attack. Limit ability to mirror by leaning forward with his upper body and neglecting his lower body, not strong enough and remains rough around the edges. Sometimes can whiff on blocks after being beaten initially and lacks range and lateral quickness. Plays too high without proper leverage and pad level. Again, I think, like I said a few minutes ago, Lucas Patrick's going to be the starting center. Maybe if Lucas Patrick doesn't end up becoming the center we think he is, well, you already got a developmental prospect that can just sit back, develop at the center position, heck, even be a backup.
Correct. And keep in mind, and I know you're not going to want to hear this. You are not going to want to hear this because I know how many times you went on about this dude last year. We also still have Sam Mustafa. Still got him. He might be 3rd string. He might not ever come out. We got a depth chart with 3 centers right now. And yes, one of them is Sam Mustafa. I know you don't want to hear it, but I would much rather him be the third guy in the rotation rather than the second or especially the first.
Yeah.
So so we do have we do have quality guys that can play the center position and Sam Mustafa.
Yeah. I think this is going to be just a developmental guy. So I think it could be a solid pick.
But he can develop as a third stringer. Mustafa, I'm speaking about. He can develop as a third stringer. Most times if you just thrust him in there and he doesn't work out. But the great part is that, in addition to, a new head coach and a new general manager, we do have now what I believe to be quality coaches on both sides of the football. So with quality coaches, leads to, quality education. With a quality education, these young men can thrive and develop. And I just think that might have been one of the things wrong with Sam Mustafa. He just didn't get the quality coaching that he requires as a football player. And I think this staff can give him that.
Yeah.
I'm doing my best, Katina Winfrey, be positive about everything.
Moving on.
I'm trying. That's the best I got. Now, after this football season, if he doesn't do if he continues on this same path, then I'll revert back to, let's get this dude out of here, man. But I'm going to evoke my power of positivity. Katina Winfrey, love her to death.
Yeah, moving on to the 7th overall pick. The 7th round pick, 222nd or 26th overall pick. Again, we take another guard, Jair Carter out of Southern University. He's 6'3", weighs 311 pounds. Now he's the slowest out of all the linemen we drafted. He got a 5'13".
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. But you know what? He's big.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of it, he has that really good guard height and weight. So again, to me, it's still about that right guard position. 6'3", 311. And yeah, to kind of dispatches one of my notions about the whole speed thing. I was thinking that as long as they're sub 5, and that's a quality that Ryan Poles was going to look for. But I think at this particular, in the 7th round, then yeah, man, just, at that particular moment is just best player available, So, but at the same time, it's still about that right guard position. You got to be able to get the right guy at that right guard position. It seems like we got the other positions tackled or taken care of, but that right guard position is wide open. Yeah,
he could be another guy that competes for a right guard position.
Correct.
And who knows? Even though the overview says he'll have a shot to become an NFL backup. Who's to say that maybe he somehow outplays the other linemen and gets a shot at being the right guard? Only time will tell. We'll see what he does. If not, then he's definitely a developmental prospect that can end up being something in the future. We'll just have to see. The next pick in the draft was Elijah Hicks, the safety out of California. I was definitely really kind of shocked, I guess you can say, that we took another safety. But I guess this guy is, as I'm trying to look for this guy on Google, seems like he's pretty talented with, what he can give us. He definitely was pretty hyped that we got him. Listen, it's definitely something. Again, I think right now we're pretty much filled up with our secondary. So if anything, he's going to be a backup player for us.
Yeah.
But who's to know that maybe he's pretty versatile enough that he could get on the field in some instances.
Practice squad at this particular moment, I don't see any more or less than, the practice squad. He probably more than likely was again, BPA, best player available. That's the only other thing that I can think of based on everything else that might have been available at that particular moment. He was the guy.
Yeah.
So, but I can't see anything more than a practice player. No more nor less. But he is talented. He is talented. And just like with anything else, if for whatever reason, if he comes to play and he comes to learn and he has really great desire to get better, then yeah, he'll probably wind up making the team. Do I foresee that? No.
Yeah. Who knows? He could potentially be the Eddie Jackson replacement whenever.
Correct. Now that's true.
However, Eddie Jackson leaves, whether it's through a trade or if just contracts gets up and then the Bears just have no effort to resign.
That's true too. Now keep in mind, by him being a 7th rounder, he will get a contract. How long the contract, it's still, remains to be seen. But, he will get an opportunity, I'm sure, based on, what we've seen with the secondary. And Eddie Jackson, I got to admit, he signed that big contract, and I'm pretty sure the Bears are looking to unload it. I'm pretty sure they are. They're looking to unload it. I know I would be. I mean, he's got, what, 3 more years left on this deal, or is it 2 more?
I have to actually check.
I think it's, I want to say it's 3 more years left on this deal. And I can't foresee the Bears looking. I'll look it over the cap a little bit later so we can, when we do our next video about the Bears, see how they progress with these picks and things of that nature going into the football season. But I'm pretty sure they're looking to unload this contract of Eddie Jackson's.
Yeah, he won't be an unrestricted free agent till 2025.
Yeah, see, 3 more seasons.
Yeah.
So again, just one of them things, whereas it just seems to me that, Poles, he wants cap flexibility and he wants speed. So we'll see. But yeah, right at this particular moment, I see nothing but a practice squad player.
Yeah. And then the last overall pick of the draft, I was hoping we would have drafted or had already drafted Justin Ross out of Clemson, but we didn't take him. We ended up taking, for last pick in the draft, we took a punter named Trenton Gill out of NC State.
Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah. I'm guessing there was a need at I think we already have a punter in the team, but I'm guessing they're going to do some sort of punter competition between this guy and the veteran guy on the team and see who's the better punter in this whole thing. They had a chance to take Matt Ariza, but they let the Bills get him, so I don't know why they just didn't get probably the better punter than this guy. But from what I heard, this guy's solid. His overview is he's a punter with good size, but an average leg and mediocre control by NFL standards. He has the physical tools, but lacks consistency with his coffin corner kicks and distance with his open field punting. Gill did improve over the second half of the season and will need to continue making that path on an NFL roster. He's a 3-year punter with a sturdy frame as a strength, adequate hang time with improvements likely, displayed better touch, incorporating high volumes of nose drop punts. Listen, all I want, if this guy does get the chance to play and he is the starter, all I care about is he does the opposite of what Pat O'Donnell can do, and that's what I want him to boot it. So far, it gets to dang near around the 10-yard line. You pin a team deep, and he consistently does it. It's not Pat O'Donnell where he kicks the ball. It gets to the 20 or 30-yard line. You're like, you gave him the field position.
Correct. I would have liked, what do they call the punt god? I would have liked to, have the Bears drafted, a little bit higher. But at the same time, I mean, it's a punter, man. We got one already on the books. And yeah, I can see the reasons why we get another one. We want to make sure that we're, attacking field position and make sure that we're putting, our offense and defense in a position, whereas, we're not backed up and things of that nature. I get it. We want to be able to play field position right and positively and things of that nature. So yeah, probably will be a nice little battle between Winslow and Gill. I think Ryan Winslow is the one that's currently on our depth chart. So it probably will be an interesting, between these two. With Cairo Santos probably sitting on the sideline sipping tea like, I'm good. I'm good. At least I'm good, So all in all, I think the Bears draft was actually pretty good. We did address we did address the secondary and the offensive line. The wide receiver room, it's frustrating to know that we came out what we came out with as a fan, so we will see where we are after this season. I don't really expect anything mind-blowing. I really don't. The only thing I'm really look at Brisker. That's the only one that I'm really excited as a fan to see, but do I expect, these rookies to just blow my mind? Nah, not really. In fact, I'll probably say maybe half I'm gonna be practice squad guys at the end of the football season. So we will see. But the question is gonna be, next year, what we do with all that cap room.
Yeah, I thought it was a solid draft by polls. If I were to grade, I would give him maybe C plus, almost B minus, but probably more C, just from the standpoint. I felt like the one thing we didn't address, which I felt like was a huge need, was wide receiver, but that's just my opinion. We'll see if they maybe add any free agents out there. Julio Jones is still out there, even though he's an injury-prone player. He's still got some things left to offer. Jarvis Landry's still on the market. I'd take him. So yeah, but we'll see what the Bears do. But other than that, that's kind of it for Bears videos until.
Well, I was gonna say real quick, because you gave your draft grade. I'll give mine. I'll say a B, just a flat B, because we can get a wide receiver to improve the quality of wide receivers in the wide receiver room. I mean, Julio Jones is still there. Jarvis Landry is still there. Cole Beasley is still there. T.Y. Hilton is still there. There are guys they can pick up in free agency to boost the quality of the receivers in the room. Emmanuel Sanders is still there. So we have guys that we can probably go out to and get. Whether polls do it or not, I'm not necessarily sure, because again, it's all about that speed. So we'll see. But the guys I mentioned, maybe other than Sanders, has a really high injury history that I don't think the Bears want to, dip into. So they'll probably wind up looking, if they do decide to go the free agent route, try to find someone else that's unknown, that's really fast, that can probably get up here and do something. But overall, I think the Bears, they did well. So I'll grade them as just an even B.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Pretty much, unless there's any other groundbreaking Chicago Bears news, that's probably kind of it until Bears season preview / just preseason game recaps on just evaluating what I see, and then back to the old grind of me making game recaps week in, week out, probably screaming at the top of my lungs for no apparent reason.
Probably.
So yes, things to look forward for the channel going forward as we end the video off. Tomorrow, well, this video is actually going up Sunday because it's super late, but look forward, sometime, today, this week, NBA first round recap, where me and my uncle are going to go over the first round matchups and our recaps and our thoughts and stuff like that, and where the losing teams will go in terms of their futures. And then we'll talk about the second round predictions as well, of who we got going to the conference finals for each of the, whether it's the Western Conference or the Eastern Conference. So look forward to that. I have to find time in my schedule to review, or not review, or give a Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim month of April recap. They've been surprisingly good so far. Now, they lost to the White Sox 4-0.
You mean to tell me the White Sox actually won a game?
Yeah, they beat the White Sox yesterday, but they lost the White Sox today.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. The Angels are shockingly good, but I don't expect that to live long anytime soon, because when they start losing games, that's when I know they're not going to make in the playoffs again, despite us having the two best players.
That division is up for the taking. There's not really one clear-cut team that'll actually wind up in the AL West. I mean,
we'll see. It's staying.
We'll see.
I've watched these clowns for years.
I know the Angels are still in. They still in a really good position. I think long term they'll be fine. Unlike the Cubs. I mean, we just, granted, I love the way the Cubs like to play small ball, but small ball is best for the playoffs. I mean, to try to do it during the regular season, I mean, you have to have really solid pitching in order to do it. And right now, the Cubs, are becoming who everyone thinks they will be, which is, 4th, 5th place team. So it's not like the Cubs. But your Angels are fine.
Yeah. I'll see if I can get in contact with my other co-host, Matt Swarmstead, to see if we can also do our MLB month in April recap, covering not all the teams as best we can, and just to choose the best teams that we think are going well right now in the MLB. And then that's pretty much it. But other than that, that's kind of things to expect for the channel.
Okay.
So but anyways, we're gonna go for you guys.
All right.
Enjoyed the video.
Matt, get at me, dog.
Leave a like if you like this video. Put in the comment section your thoughts on the Bears draft picks, as well as hit the subscribe button to Camp for 15 Talk Sports if you want to get more sports content. Again, talk MLB, NBA, and then NFL / my Chicago Bears and stuff like that. So but anyways, we're gonna go over. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day or night. Until then, guys, stay safe out there. Peace.
Later.